Hey guys, welcome back. We're at episode 6. Today we're going to be talking about data privacy. I have myself, Ranbir Bakshi, entrepreneur. Robert Tucci's joining us this evening. If you guys want to go ahead and give you a quick intro so we can let the fans know who's all participating in tonight's podcast.
Hey guys, so my second podcast, this is Robert Tucci. Just graduated law school, took the bar last week. Hopefully passed it, but just here having a good time.
That's right.
Martin Hoyo's here, just trying to bring a different perspective. We're just a group of guys getting together and talking about interesting topics. Today we're going to be talking about data privacy and how it affects the elections.
Yeah, stay tuned. My name is Elias Medina.
And a special shout out to our number one listener, Corey Harpin. Also, Tarek for providing the music for the show. Check him out at drumcandy.com. And Alpaca Restaurant for providing the food for us today. We feel great.
That's right. Alpaca, check us out, alpacachicken.com. Hope you guys enjoy the show.
What's up, guys?
Welcome back. Episode 6. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of...
Hold on, wait. Let me turn my cell phone off.
Oh, yeah, guys.
I don't want
we're going to be talking about cell phones and other devices and how they're listening onto this, into our conversations like this.
Are they fucking listening?
Are they listening? Is Big Brother watching?
You got them right there, are.
Hell yeah.
They're writing. How does it know when you say, hey, Siri? Because it was listening the whole fucking time.
The whole time?
Until you said, hey, Siri.
In the beginning, everybody was, oh, look at this, look, hey Siri, right? Now everybody's saying, wait a minute, time out. If Siri's listening now, who else is listening?
Well, and the harsh reality is that these corporations or these people are taking this data and they're collecting it. And how are they using it?
I think that, you talk about Cambridge Analytica and Facebook and all this stuff that's happened over the past couple of years, and it's really kind of put a huge red flag in my mind about everything related to data collection, data privacy, consumer protection, especially regarding Facebook and so forth. But just so we set a good baseline here. Does everyone know what happened with Cambridge Analytica?
No, why don't you?
I know a little bit.
Brief breakdown. So
Cambridge, can I tell you're probably gonna elaborate?
Okay.
I wanna participate a little bit. So Cambridge Analytica is this company that they use this data that's collected, right, and they strategically infuse data into Facebook and Twitter to influence a group of people. Is that right?
So yeah, they're a political consulting firm, or they were, in England. And if you think about these major events that have happened in the past 4 or 5 years that no one predicted, Brexit, Donald Trump, so forth, they're really the kind of the masterminds behind that, and especially the political consulting end of it. So they teamed up with Facebook. Cambridge Analytica teamed up with Facebook in the 2016 election after they retained Donald Trump's campaign, and they were using Facebook to collect data about not just the users that downloaded their apps or their plugins for Facebook, but also the friends and family members of these people that were directly interacting with Cambridge Analytica, right? But the interesting thing is the direct point of contacts for Cambridge Analytica, these people that were downloading their apps, their games, so forth for Facebook, just thought it was like an innocent thing, right? They didn't think that their data was going to be harvested and used for political consulting purposes, or I call it, propaganda type thing.
Right. Well, here's one point to make about that. You ever stop and think about why Google is free? Google Maps is free. Why so many of these apps are free? I worked in Verizon for 4 years. We worked in Verizon together, Robert Tucci and I, and I've actually interacted with people that work in the area with software, and one of them one time told me that there's none of this is free. The reason they're giving you this for free is because they're collecting your data, and that data becomes a commodity. And it has even been appraised more expensive as oil. your data, your information is more expensive, is a price higher than oil at this point. So what this company is doing is using this data to influence, and they were selling a service to campaign. So they work for the Trump campaign. They work on the Obama campaign, which is the one that they actually started with. The whole idea of being able to promote somebody through Facebook was invented in this Obama campaign, from what I understand. But they're so good because people are willingly giving their information that is almost not fair anymore. It's like they're cheating. So how is this influencing elections? Why is Trump getting elected? And I'll let you keep going. I'm sorry, but
no, you're good.
I just wanted to explain how that works. Because everybody's download the free app and you don't think twice about it. But why are you not paying for this? And it's giving you so much. You know the latest views on traffic, the latest maps. And there used to be a time where remember when you had the GPS and you had to pay for the update? What the fuck happened to that? It was like $250 to pay for the update. Sure. All of a sudden it's free. Why? Because it's fucking money.
Yeah, and you raise a good point about that. One thing I will say, though, Cambridge Analytica did not work with Obama's campaign, but Obama was really the first presidential candidate to utilize the kind of techniques that Cambridge Analytica used on a mass scale. So you're absolutely right about that. But also, what do they use? So the app specifically that people download, or the games they played, or whatever. They weren't advertising this as Cambridge Analytica's app.
Right.
It was. I don't know if y'all have heard of the recent change your face type thing.
The face
to be 100 years old.
It's supposed to be Russian, right?
Exactly right. It's
I
Russian
fucking
agents.
did it anyways, and I knew it.
Russian agents, right?
You don't care what you come.
I wanted to see myself all that. I didn't give a fuck. Okay, so there was an app that was blowing up in the internet. All the celebrities were doing. Your brother did it, and he looked fucking crazy. Basically, it's called Face App, right. And you take a picture of yourself, and it meant you look 100 years old, way older, and it looked real as fuck. So it looked like, I don't know what they've done to this app, but you look like an old man.
So there's something bad about that?
Well, they said that. I heard this from somebody. I don't know who the fuck told me this, but it's don't fucking download it. Is a Russian app, and they're collecting your face so that and you're signing when you're agreeing to the terms and conditions. Because that's the problem. You're agreeing to terms and conditions. Nobody fucking reads that shit. And it says that you're agreeing for your face to, and then it asks if it's okay for you to look at all the pictures. And I fucking said okay, even though I knew it. What a fucking idiot!
So my wife took a picture with this guy.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy. That's the one.
That's me.
Yo, so that is supposedly made by the Russians.
Okay.
And they're collecting your face, and you're fucked.
They're gonna go for you now.
They're gonna kill you.
So that's a plugin for Facebook, right? Or is it?
No,
is
it's
it
a
just
Face App.
It's just an app.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I said I'm not gonna do it. My sister did it for me. He's like, look at how you would look, and I'm like, crap. I said I wasn't
it's
gonna do
so
it.
hard not to do it.
So, but the thing is, that's a perfect segue into these terms and conditions, right? These privacy policies, these end user license agreements. Does anyone actually read them?
No way.
How?
No way.
What
Why
are you
would
giving
we?
away?
Everything. I don't know what it
All
says.
your information.
Does anyone
phone,
here actually know what they're giving away?
Your location. For sure.
Do you know how much that's worth?
Oh, I'm sure a fucking shit ton.
So why are you giving it away?
But the thing, what's happening is society is forcing you to use these things.
But I want to fucking see how I look like when I'm old.
Right. I want to go somewhere. I don't want to pay Tom. The Tom was it the right navigation for. I want to use Google Maps. But does Google Maps? That's already download. That's already it comes on iPhone, right? That's not something you have to download that app.
Never.
So how do you think it will affect? I don't seem affected by it though.
Not now. Not yet.
What do you think is? Well, how do you think it's going to affect you later on? What do you?
So here's the effect as far as elections go. Anyway,
okay.
Cambridge Analytica collected all of this data, or Facebook, collected all of this data, gave it to Cambridge Analytica, and Cambridge Analytica used this data to target people, micro-target. And by that I mean they would look on an individual level and determine how likely this individual was to vote a certain way, right? So they were looking at apathetic voters. They were looking at people that have never voted before. and targeting ads to them on Facebook and on Twitter or whatever.
So,
specifically targeting these individuals to vote for Donald Trump.
So they would know, based on everything they know about you, because they have access to your Facebook.
They probably know I have DACA. They wouldn't. I wouldn't.
They would
even
know,
allowed to vote anyway.
Like, for example, they know that you buy and sell cars, for example, right?
Or your hobbies.
Or your hobbies, and they know what specifically would get you going, whether it's true or not true. They would have the ability to use that as propaganda to make you think, because there's no fucking way of proving this information is true or not. So they know that gets you going, and that's all they care about, right? That if they say this to you, like, oh, they're going to start taxing. If you don't vote for example, if you don't vote for Donald Trump, they're going to start taxing contractors higher. And they know that you are a contractor. They know all this information about you. I mean, this is obviously an exaggeration.
Yeah,
I don't know to that level, but they're able to do something similar to that, which is fucked up.
But besides that, also they were targeting people who were on the left and who wouldn't normally vote for Donald Trump. They were targeting them, and not necessarily promoting Donald Trump, but kind of throwing mud on the Democrats to try and make it more likely that they wouldn't vote. Right? So they were doing it at both angles.
But when you mean say throw mud on Democrats, like throwing, I mean, what
so
example?
For example, when the emails from the Democratic National Committee leaked, right? They were generating ads based off of those leaks and what was contained in those emails to kind of dissuade Bernie Sanders voters from voting, right? So they would.
Everybody who was following probably Bernie Sanders was getting something.
Exactly, yeah. So and they were able to see from the data that Facebook gave Cambridge Analytica who was more likely to vote for Bernie Sanders or who was more likely to vote for Donald Trump based off of certain criteria. You know, obviously your geographical location, your sex, how old you are, if you put your political affiliation on Facebook, also your postings on your timeline. If you said certain keywords, then that would flag a data collection for it, right? And guys, the important thing to bear in mind is this wasn't just for the people that downloaded the Cambridge Analytica games and apps. This was for everybody, right?
Because the fact that Facebook sold the information?
Well, for the fact that just by that one person downloading that app, it allowed Cambridge Analytica to collect all of their friends, all of their families' data, right?
Wow.
So was that on the terms and conditions? That we can pull your information and anybody related to you?
Well, I don't know if anyone related to you was in there, but that's just how it worked functionally, right? I think, and that was like a huge sticking point in the lawsuit in England, right?
So all this is getting done by a computer, like artificial intelligence is like collecting all this data by itself, or there's a bunch of people working in a big building, like grabbing stuff and putting it together?
I'm sure it's software.
Combination.
Yeah.
Well, and you saw on Capitol Hill recently, Mark Zuckerberg go there before I think it was the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Right.
And they're asking him questions like, what's going on? You know, why does Cambridge Analytica have the data of people who didn't even agree to give it to them? You know? And so the European Union has kind of developed what they call a solution to all this, which is the GDPR. And it's kind of like this big data privacy protection regulation for European Union citizens, right? And in a nutshell, all it basically says is each citizen has their own right to know what their data is, what it's being used for, and also control over it.
But
right?
That's just something that does not exist in the U.S.
Exactly.
So that's the biggest issue. So
well, it does exist.
There's no
because
law.
you accept or not accept though.
Well,
right. Isn't that? Aren't they disclosing that with the fine print of the terms and conditions?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know. What you?
Well,
a little background here. Robert Tucci is the only one that's gone through law school out of the four of us. So that's why we keep referring to him. But
I'm not an attorney yet. Obviously, I just took the bar, so full disclosure there. But I'm I listen to NPR, I read stuff, and like this is just general knowledge that I've accumulated. I'm not an expert or anything, but for the GDPR, that was really the first attempt by a huge nation, right? Which is the EU is a conglomerate of nations, but it's massive.
Well, back up. I guess I want to answer this question before we move forward. Does the fact that we're accepting the terms and conditions, does that mean that we are failing to that was the like at that point are we like denied of all rights because we accepted terms and conditions?
Well, no, and I'll caveat that by saying no with an asterisk, right? Because obviously, whenever you accept terms and conditions or end user license agreement that says that they're going to collect this data and use it for this purpose, right? And once you agree to that, pretty much, I mean, you agree to it, you know? Mm-hmm. However, when it comes to this example like Cambridge Analytica, where they're using other people's data that did not agree to any of this,
right?
That's where it becomes a whole lot more interesting and sticky, right? Because what do you do in that situation? If you don't have people agreeing to this data use, to this harvesting of their information, how do you handle that? And so that was kind of like the GDPR. That was a solution for the European Union, but for the United States,
is it kind of similar? You know, when you want to buy like a plane ticket, if you don't buy at the time and then you look it up for later on, like the same plane ticket will be, instead of being $200 at the first time you look at it, the second time will be like $275 if you didn't buy it at the first time you looked at. And sometimes you can do something to your web browser, your browser. So they wouldn't keep a track on that. So probably might be something similar to that.
Potentially. I mean, there's lots of different ways to tackle it. But specifically for the GDPR, it emboldens and empowers citizens to have control over their data.
And I think that's
I'm going to ask the question, what the fuck is the GDPR? Is that the European nations?
That's the European Union regulation recently enacted. So they passed it in 2016 and it came into effect in May of 2018.
So all this is getting allowed by the government, you know, in a certain way. So the government is like the one who's causing all this. Because you look at this will be the smart way of to control people. Like, look at that way, and like what happened in Venezuela. Like, why this guy got so many votes? You know, like what he did to the people because he did won the elections. You know, you're like, how can this ignorant man win the elections in Venezuela? You know, and the fact that he won it because he gave something to the people, like he gave like stamps. So the people is like, oh, this guy's giving me stamps. This guy's giving me food. I don't have to work. So it's like the government controlling the people in order for them to, you know, stay on government. Say that because you see the government, you might see Donald Trump his face, but at the end of the day, it's the Congress, is them is the one like controlling the whole country. It's all
controlled by money at the end of the day. But you could argue that Maduro is actually perceived as an ignorant person because of the social media manipulation.
But
you can hear it talk and you can tell he makes no sense.
But look at Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, right?
I don't know anything about this.
So he's basically another populist nationalist, just like Donald Trump. And he was elected in Brazil, who previously had a not super left wing, but a kind of left wing president, right? Guys, this is a global phenomenon where we're seeing populist nationalist leaders being elected in almost every country that has an opportunity to elect one, right? But you have to kind of ask yourself, why is that happening? Is it just a global moment, or is something else going on behind the scenes?
Right.
And especially when this whole Cambridge Analytica thing was broke, that kind of started turning a little bit of some gears in my head, like, maybe it's as simple as these political consulting firms using and micro-targeting with our data to make us vote a certain way. I mean, and that's kind of a very Machiavellian way to think about it. But
if you think about it, these are techniques that have always been used for politics, for elections, to hit on those aspects that you think are important to people, but it's eliminating that aspect of you think it is important to somebody, but actually knowing for a fact that it's important to somebody, but being able to lie on the microscopic level. Because in the past, you could make an assumption like, I will fix the Medicare, and you knew that, maybe, you're going to get to all the older people, right? Or you were making this mass statements.
But now you can
and
personalize.
hoping whether they're true. But now you can personalize your lies to get elected.
Personalize your lies to get elected.
Which is fucking mind-blowing, dude.
And if you look at
it's mind control, if you think about it.
If you look at some of the ads that Cambridge Analytica, all these other organizations posted during the 2016 election, just take a look at some of them. One that I just remember very vividly is a picture of, a woman in traditional Islamic garb, and she's holding a gun, obviously photoshopped, full on AK-47 it looked like, and the caption read, something to the effect of, "Do you want these people coming over here to kill everybody?" type thing.
Wow.
And
I don't.
But imagine having that thrown in your face every single day, and you not really knowing what's going on.
What's real and what's not.
I can see how Donald Trump was elected.
Yeah, I mean, me too. And you know what pisses me off the most about this is that this shouldn't happen if people were somewhat smart. Or if you were not smart. I'm going to rephrase that. If we were informed as a society. But as a society, I think we're used to getting just a little piece of information to make a decision, and we're okay with that. And because we're used to making decisions with little pieces of information and we don't ask for more, then they can do shit like this.
They said, like, the way who is this, the black president, who was it? Obama. Obama. The way he won the election was by winning the youth.
Wait, we had a black president? No,
by winning the elections by the young people, just by giving small advertise, like giving like short periods of advertise. So
which they've been doing forever.
Yeah.
Right? It's before, like you said,
I'm
going to fix the medical, or I'm going to give them food, or I'm going to make sure everybody has food to eat.
Well, but the way he advertised it, though,
right?
Yeah.
It was like short, like
short
a lot
burst.
of like something in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Because that's what people are looking for, like something quick, like a quick message, like, oh, okay, next video, next video. That's what we all do.
And just like you said, right now, it's what's the feed, what's the story, what's the newest, and it's quick. But those small little small little messages that are just getting recorded in the back of your mind.
We don't want to do critical thinking.
Right.
And that's what was it George Carlin, the comedian.
Oh, George Carlin.
He talked about that as a society we just refuse to fucking. And he's a crude comedian. If you ever had he's very famous, obviously. But he talks about like we lost the ability to critically think because we've been conditioned to just like yes or no, black or white, abortion no abortion, guns no guns, like yes or no. And it's like and that's my biggest frustration with this whole thing. It's not that simple. I hate that we get on this like tribal. You're right and you're wrong. It's never that simple, dude. And that's when you say like, oh, how could you even get associated with this person? I sometimes try to see beyond that that way of thinking like what the fuck is going on here, like, and that's what I think we fail to do as a society sometimes.
As a society, they fail to read now.
Why is that?
Because it's easier to just one of the biggest things that I've always said. And I don't want to offend anybody out there who is religious, but I wish that I could just, because I'm not an atheist, but I'm also not a.
You don't even know.
I believe I would consider myself.
I don't know. I'm confused.
This
is what my parents told me. This is what I believe. I don't know.
I consider myself agnostic, but what I would say is I envy somebody that is so sure about it because it's so easy, relax. You don't have to think about it. It's so I don't have to worry about it. It's. Right. I can say I'm an atheist or I'm a believer. It's so easy, and that conversation is simple. I know what to do. This is the right thing. It says right here, yes or no. Abortion is bad. Boom. Guns are bad. Boom. Guns are good. Or America's better. You know, like that. Those like absolute statements are very comforting. You can just really hide behind them and relax. And I wish I could think that way, but I'm always conflicted with everything, and I'm like, and it's very gray, and I think that we should, as a society, be okay with that gray to come to some sort of resolution. But just making those absolute statements makes it impossible to move forward, because it's you against me, and it's never going to go anywhere.
Well, I think in today's day and age, everybody's on the move. Nobody has time for anything, but everybody has time to get on social media for a little bit, right? And just scroll, and see quick little messages, and like you said, there's no time for critical thinking at that point. It's just, this was being fed to me on a daily, right? And then next thing you know, it's election time, and
yeah, when that's the norm, then here comes a company that's figured it out, and they know what the fuck to feed you.
To the
they
masses.
know what gets you going. I'm talking all this shit, and I know that if there's a video out there that gets me fucking teary-eyed or pissed off on the regular basis, if I look at it.
Yeah.
If I'm scrolling through Facebook and I stop at somebody fighting or some shit like that, my heart goes
right.
up, and I get teary-eyed, or I like fucking see an animal being like, you know, with a fucking plastic around their head, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this video. This movie was like Black Mirror. They came out with a movie, and you kind of pick which way will you go.
Oh, really?
And I think they kind of would like start studying people. Like, oh, let's say I crush somebody. Okay, you want to keep going, or you want to stop help these people out? I want to keep going, and then they can study you saying like, hey, I don't know, if something happens in real life, and then you go to court for something. Hey, this is what you pick here. You say you will keep going.
That
might be
a personality test.
So they might be able to, to keep a track on. Even though watching a movie, you're saying, "Oh, I'm having fun right now," and you're just like you just said, you filled in a personality check. You say a personality check, and that's crazy how they can study you and they can affect you later on, even though you didn't crush that person, and you're like, oh, but you did run away here. So you would run away twice, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's exactly what they're doing, but they're not asking you the question, but they're putting things in front of you, and they're seeing how you react. Did he click in this video? Okay, so he likes that kind of shit. So they're asking you those. They're surveying you. They're coming up with this research on a regular basis. Now, here's the positive side of it that I thought about, is that all this data put together is essentially like an ongoing clinical research that's happening. So as we learn to assimilate this data, what could be positively taken from this is they're going to look like, okay, Rambir gets up. I know he eats this. I know he works out with this. I know his heart rate is at 60. And I know, like, oh, this motherfucker's going to get a heart attack in a week. Let's give him a... That would be a positive effect of this.
That'd be great.
You know what makes me mad? I'm not the one making money, man. Somebody else making money out of my information, man. Out of everybody's information, man.
Going and making money. Do you think that would be great if a lot of things in this world were used for the good, right? But is that really going to happen?
Let him have the heart attack. They're going to be like, let him have the heart attack. Let him come to us.
I think that both things are going to happen. I have a somewhat positive view of this. I think that people need to be aware of it. Awareness and information is key.
Sure.
Because when you're aware of it, it would be less effective.
So here's the other issue, though, is the data that you're talking about that, statisticians and medical professionals, whoever would use to research this, right? They're not the owners of that data. They don't have any access to it. So what do you do in that situation? Because if Facebook is a private entity and its servers are full of information on pretty much everybody in the nation, everybody in the world, guys.
The world. Yeah, not even the nation.
Except China. China, they don't allow Facebook in China.
Yeah,
no, they have it.
No,
they don't. You're not allowed to go to Google. You can't go to Google or.
My mom had to call me through WhatsApp because she was in China because Facebook wasn't banned.
Yeah,
but like you said, Martin, this stuff is a commodity. It's worth more than oil.
Yeah,
they're not going to give that stuff away. So really, you have to kind of look at it from a bird's eye view and think about it like, okay, our current system right now, all the data is owned by private entities. There is no public amalgamation of this data. You can't access it.
Unless you're this private entity.
So, what do? And for the European Union, their answer was, well, give the consumer more power over their own data. Let them decide what they want to do. For the United States is, we're a capitalist society.
Right.
Just let the companies do whatever they want to do with the data. That's the status quo right now. Obviously, both Republicans and Democrats are very upset with not only Facebook, but Cambridge Analytica and so forth, and trying to find a solution for the United States to that. But
they created the problem by making the voter an idiot. I feel like over the course of 100
the thing
years.
is, it's not about the voter's an idiot. They took advantage of the voter, just like politicians back in the day would take advantage of the community, right? But like, for example, the what's the site where you go look at where you're from, your origin?
Ancestry.
Damn, they're collecting some crazy.
That's some fucking data.
Also 23andMe.
All right. So.
Oh my god, dude.
Think about what the data there, and they're taking it back, right? And apparently they might be using that for. You saw something about that they might try to find out, like, if you're prone to certain medical conditions, and that they're going to try to push and recommend these medicines on you. Going back to pharmaceuticals.
Oh my god!
But they just solved a murder. This was like a year or two ago by using data from 23andMe.
I'm not familiar with 23andMe.
It's the same thing.
Just like Ancestry.com.
As the AT&T.
Except you actually send them like a DNA sample, and then they tell you.
Gotcha.
Anyway, law enforcement used a DNA sample they had from the crime scene to match.
Oh, wow.
The twin brother, was it?
Something like the
twin brother of the actual murderer.
If they're using it for good, great.
Well, here's what's going to happen to your point. So you're saying, let me repeat what you said and say next. That even though there's positive things that could come out of this data, they're not going to give out that data for free, so those positive things are not going to happen. But the minute they figure out positive things can happen, they're going to fucking sell it to us anyways. If how much money would you pay to know if you're doing fucking unhealthy shit that's going to kill you? Sure,
and again, going back to taking advantage of the consumer, right? That you're taking advantage of the consumer. I don't think that we're idiots in the most people are working and they're doing their thing, and then this is something to do when they have a few moments of free time. It's not they're idiots. It's not they don't go to school for that. You're taking advantage as a company, as a capitalist company, or in a capitalist society, to take advantage of that end consumer, which is fucked up.
So your question was, the good stuff's going to come out anyway. So
ideally,
for a price.
But who's going to pay So my whole thing is, we haven't seen that yet.
Nah.
Right? The only thing we've seen is Facebook selling this data to Cambridge Analytica to influence our elections. Right? Which is, I think, a pretty bad thing. Maybe reasonable people can disagree about that. I don't know. But
what do you think is wrong?
About
that
specifically?
Let's say if you want to win something, you would use whatever you can.
Well, the fact that you didn't know that data was being used against, or not against you, but
to persuade you.
You had no idea that they were doing that. Most of us don't. But here's the point: is that when people, would you think that information would be as effective if this becomes a common knowledge topic? If everybody knows Cambridge Analytica is actively doing that, when you see that video come up, would you understand that? Oh yeah, I know what they're doing here. Would you think that eventually could be?
I think, given the current political climate, with Donald Trump saying everything is fake news related to Russia,
right,
and almost half of the country believing him about that, how do you proceed from there? You can't. It's impossible. It's deadlock. And the individuals who are affected by it most, the individuals who voted for Donald Trump, these blue collar workers in Ohio and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, who probably wouldn't have voted for him otherwise, but for these ads that they were getting from Cambridge Analytica. How do you convince them otherwise?
Because they're not going to be doing research to understand that this is a problem to begin with. They're just going to...
You're going back to awareness. They're not aware what's happening.
Or they even care. Like, they're not the people who are outraged about their information being out there. They don't. At this point of the podcast, we have gone through our normal 30-minute time. Do you guys want to keep going and we do episode 2, part 2, or do we stop it? What do you guys think?
Let's stop it there, and then we'll keep going with podcast 3.
We're gonna. We could keep going forever, guys, but we're gonna stop it here. For those who are listening, we appreciate you and we love you.
Absolutely, this is what we do it for.
We had a couple of people. We are now streaming on Twitch. It's Mosquito Ninja 7 / Actually, I'll put it on the description. There's a Twitch. I don't know what it is.
Check us
but
out.
We had a couple people come in and comment some really interesting things. We have to figure out how we're gonna manage this. But thank you for listening. We'll see you next time, guys.
Stay tuned.
Well.